Salutations, Shades, and welcome back to your one-stop shop for all things strange and unusual, talking with shadows. The conversation everyone has, but no one wants to admit to. Here with your host, Vic Waitley.
And Marcus D. Do you have like a sore throat? Is that why you were talking like that?
No, I just felt like mixing it up a little bit.
I thought you got like hit on the head and maybe you had like a flashback to like when we first started. You were sounding all like real gritty and grungy for what you were going for there.
I just like to change stuff up every once in a while.
Like you just started chain smoking. Salutations, Shades, and welcome back to One Stop Shop for all things strange. Like I thought that was what I was
think it's fun to mix things up with an intro every once in a while.
Oh man, this is fun. Oh man, yeah, super excited to be back recording an episode for you guys today. We're recording a little. I know we're later than what we should be having this out, but earlier in the day. Like I was ready to start recording this episode like 9.
We might be recording this late in the month, but we're recording it early in the day, so it all balances out.
I can tell we're just getting old because we're just like, we're recording in the morning. And like, let's go get like the senior special breakfast, and then just start recording at like 9:30 in the morning.
What are you talking about? We went to Sonic and got like French fries and a slushie. How is that senior citizen?
You got French fries. I got a breakfast burrito and tater tots. Thank you, sir.
Well, fries and slushie, I think, was really the better choice.
Well, no, we get up. Do you not remember like when we used to live together back in college, and we would get up at like 2?
Yeah, that was awesome.
Like now we get up at like 9 o'clock, like in the morning, right? Just ready to go.
I'm not gonna lie, I usually get up around 8, sometimes earlier.
We're just getting to that. I know we're just getting to that point. We're just naturally just getting up earlier.
You're getting older. I'm getting cooler.
No, I saw something. I came to this realization about why I think people get up like earlier and earlier as we get older. Is I think we're just trying to get up we're just trying to stay one step ahead of the Grim Reaper. Cause no, death doesn't want to get up at 4 a.m. in the morning.
No one does.
Like,
no one does.
That's why anytime I think somebody, when I hear they died of natural causes, I think that just means they slept in. This is great. All right, let's get to some beer, man. Let's do some day drinking.
Okay, we just had to raid my fridge for whatever was left, and I'm drinking a Guinness Nitro cold brew coffee, which I've had a few of these before, and I already highly recommend them. They're very good.
Stashed in your fridge was something called Investor, with a capital E in the middle of that, which I find odd. It's a Belgian beer, Belgian-style golden ale with honey and vanilla.
I had one like 2 nights ago. They're pretty good.
I'm going to try this.
Like, have you ever heard one of these when you open them?
No. What do you...
Hear that?
Oh my god. That's the sound of just potential energy just like escaping just into the air. Quick, drink it!
No, there's a nitro bubble in these, so when you open it up, like the nitro bubble pops.
Mm-hmm. I thought like each can just has the ghost of a small mouse in it.
It kind of sounded like that.
When you crack it, that's the sound of it escaping. Going off to mouse heaven. That is a very foamy coffee beer. Is it beer or is it coffee or is it both?
It's both.
Okay.
It's like beer coffee.
Beer for the professional day drinker.
I mean, I drink one of these every morning. They're really good.
Let's try this. This isn't too bad. It's weird. This beer, it's a golden ale, but it tastes kind of like something stout. Like it has a weird Guinnessy taste. Like it tricks you into thinking that it's like a darker beer when it's not.
And I like both of these. They're both pretty
I
damn
can
good.
Smell that beer coffee from across the table.
Of course you can. Look
Holy
at it. It's like a bubbling
crap.
cauldron over here.
Oh my god, I could smell it. This is the first time I've ever been able to smell your alcohol from over here.
Oh, it's so good. So good.
Oh, God. But I'm happy we're back to record. We got a great episode for you guys today. If you didn't check out our last episode, which I highly recommend, me and Vic talked about something called shrine towns, where we were talking about like these rural towns in the middle of nowhere that might have like a real like deep occult connection. And it was an incredibly fascinating
I
episode.
love talking about cults. Anytime we can talk about cults, I enjoy it.
100%. Well, it was something like it's something that a lot of people have experienced, but nobody's really put a name to the concept. And I think something like, and that happens when they're paranormal, is often we share a lot of these same paranormal experiences. We just don't use the same vocabulary. So I highly recommend checking out that episode. Let's go over some comments from that episode. Mary Grace, one of my absolute favorite listeners, said, coworker just drops the subject on his haunted house. No, where does he live? LOL. 100% true. My last job, I've had to stay like deep cover of how into the paranormal I am because I don't know. I don't want to freak them out.
I started that way, but then I was kind of like, screw it. I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about.
Okay. I know, and we've talked about it before, that everybody's into the paranormal. You just got to wait. Like, everybody's got their story, but like, I gotta let them come to me first before I can like.
No, some people really aren't. There's a small handful of people out there that are just very boring.
Yeah. One of my coworkers the other day, within this week, was trying to talk to me about trying to tell me like about Bigfoot story one of her friends had said, and I'm like, oh, Bigfoot, you say? It's like, I may have heard a story or two about that.
Tell me of these Sasquatches or majestic wood apes.
She was like, Chris, you seem to know a lot. I'm like, oh, I'm just an avid reader. I just that's what it is. Nighthawk patron said, I wonder how much of the hostility and weird occurrences can be explained by people on drugs. A lot of rural small towns have a major meth problem, which would make the people paranoid and hostile, plus meth fries your brain. There's all kinds of crazy stuff going on in places with a lot of meth users.
Especially here in Indiana. It's been a while since we brought this up, but me and Marcus, we actually live and record from the meth capital of the world.
Yes, we do. That's what Evansville's known for. So super pride right there on that.
I would say probably some are. Oh, my goodness. Okay, do you care if I tell a story real quick?
Yeah, tell a story.
Okay, I'm coming back from the grocery store with Ellie, and we're pulling in. And my neighborhood's pretty nice, except for this one house kind of a little ways up, which I think might be something shady going on. But I don't know. I just kind of leave him be. So I pull up, and there's a guy kind of over there, and he's just waving his hands around. I'm like, oh, he might be like in trouble. Maybe he needs help. So I park the car, and I get out and start walking that way, and he's waving his hands and yelling. He gets halfway to me, and I realize, oh, he's waving his hands and threatening me. I'm like, what? I'm like, okay, man, just calm down. What's going on? He's like, F you, F you, F you. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what happened, but clearly this is not a situation I'm going to help. I'm going to go back in my house. He starts running up to me. And then this old guy that's with him kind of runs up and grabs him by the shoulder. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry that he's just really mad. This guy like walked by and knocked over his bike and stuff. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's a super believable story. I definitely believe that that's what happened, not that you guys are tripping on drugs or something.
I 100% believe you have what I call the Frankenstein effect, where people just like see your face and they want to fight you. For some unknown reason, like when we worked at the hospital together, this happened like a lot, which is unweird. But it's also don't get me wrong. There's a lot of like Vic is like the nicest guy ever, and like people get to know him like. But there's a lot of people that generally just see you and just go, "I want to fight this guy."
Like I don't know what it is, but I've heard I have a very punchable face. I don't know what that means, but apparently, I get into. Like, not so much fights anymore. Like, I've been drug into a lot of fights in my life that I still, to this day, have no clue why they started. But, like, I will randomly have people just get in my face and stuff. I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. First, I'm usually big enough and good enough at, like, de-escalating the situation. Nowadays, it usually doesn't come to blows.
Let's see. I'm also not 100% convinced that it's entirely drug fueled, because keep in mind, I would say that there is more drug usage in urban cities, than there are in rural settings. And truthfully, honestly, I think you find less depression that sets in for people that often live in more rural communities, or it's like different. Like you don't tend to see just the some of the real hard effects that like a lot of like happens with a lot of urban cities. So I'd be hard pressed to generally believe that I think it's entirely drug related that causes some of this hostility and tension.
Yeah, in urban cities, you usually do drugs to escape sadness and situations.
Right.
You do drugs in the country to escape boredom.
Yeah, it's like whenever like cities are being painted, it's always like, like it's real easy to kind of paste that kind of dour urban setting, and like a lot of rural country settings are a lot usually nicer. Gray9438 said, the time I went to a very small town, I ended up having to stop at a store, and I remember both the people there glaring at me the whole time. I remember just thinking in the back of my head if there was something weird going on there, or maybe it was something odd, or maybe some odd people showing up there recently. Also, if you like the elderberry soda, this same company makes prickly pear soda, which sounds amazing. Also really good.
I've had prickly pear before. It's good. I haven't had the soda version.
Jay the Phoenix says, I think I distinctly remember an extremely isolated U.S. town. They had to covertly bring cameras into. I want to start that over because I want to make sure I'm reading this right. I think I distinctly remember an extremely isolated U.S. town. They had to covertly bring cameras into secretly on YouTube Explorer channel. It may have been near an old mining area out west. The people acted strange, especially in a scene in a general store. Drink suggestion, grab a punch of crazy Mountain Dew flavors and taste some. They've got a lot of bazillion things out there. I like that. See, like, what's the best tasting Mountain Dew? I want to look more into this weird YouTube Explorer channel that secretly brought in cameras.
Yeah, I actually, if you find the channel again, please let us know what it is.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty curious about checking this out. Also, were you suggesting, like, for us to do, like, Mountain Dew taste test?
Yeah, that's what he said.
I hate all Mountain Dew.
You suck.
I hate all Mountain Dew.
Suck. I love Mountain Dew Major Melon. That's what I think I drank that on the channel. I think I've drunk that in an episode, actually.
Like, Ellie loves Mountain Dew. You can do the Mountain Dew review with her.
Fine with me.
I have not found a type of Mountain Dew I like.
Next time we get Ellie on, we're gonna do a Mountain Dew taste test. We're gonna see which one's the best.
I will just sit here and shake my head at both of you.
Zeno Smith, patron, said, I liked your idea of the town not being aware of the effects the entity has on them. Reminds me of Pennywise from It.
Yeah, because didn't he kind of cause a suppression of it, and then it came out through like the negative interactions the town people would have with each other? Mm-hmm. I've not seen the new It. I've only seen the original, but I remember that being a thing. Sky
C says, so I went straight to Fatal Frame with these shrine towns. Ah, someone's a Japanese horror game fan right there. I know that one. That's Fatal Frame is like a Japanese Resident Evil essentially setting.
Yeah, but it's more based around a camera. I think Missy likes that game. Mm-hmm. A friend of both of ours. Mm-hmm. But she's really into photography and is very gothic.
Yeah, I mean, I get like a Silent Hill vibe, like too. Like, I think that's another like way to really, like, for younger listeners, Silent Hill. For our older listeners, more experienced, Resident Evil.
You know, we should throw some of her art in the comment section at some point. Not the comment section, but the show notes.
She's a great photographer.
Like she does amazing work, and she deserves a little bit of exposure.
You know, she does my headshot for comedy.
Nice.
Yeah, the one that I posted on the banner. That's her. She took that photo. Everybody's like, whoa, Chris, that's great. What professional did you get? I'm like, my friend Missy.
Yeah, every time she does a really creepy photo, I usually buy it and just hang it up somewhere in my house.
Mm-hmm. What if instead of Harold Utley said, what if instead of going the paranormal route, on these shrine towns, you go more the conspiracy route? What if the shrine they're protecting is something that is highly illegal and the hostility spawns from them just not wanting to be caught? Would you be willing to try Huckleberry iced coffee? We would be willing to try Huckleberry iced coffee. But no, I 100% agree with you. The conspiracy route of they're hiding some sort of dark secret and that sort of guilt, regret, and shame turning into hostility for people, 100% believe that absolutely could be a thing.
I know we took this angle when investigating Dogtown at one point. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to remember if you were working with us at the time or if this was before. This was back when it was just mainly me and Ellie and Adam Mathers looking into it.
Mm-hmm. Were you thought like just something bad had happened down there?
That there might be some sort of secret, but it's not occultic or paranormal. Mm-hmm. And we're trying to look into that, like with some of the odd structures and things like that in the area. Mm-hmm. But we never really found much of a lead on it. Mm-hmm. But we did explore the possibility.
100%, guys. You guys should go check out the episode on Shrine Town. It's absolutely fantastic. And it, like this whole month is, it's stuff that you're just not going to find on YouTube. I'm going to go into a whole lot of other examples, too.
Okay, I got something for us. Let me grab my notes. Mm-hmm. Oh my god, I didn't turn off my cell phone.
Oh, shame.
There we go.
For shame.
Just suddenly realized that.
Be totally irresponsible for somebody not to make sure their cell phone is
Oh my god,
off.
yours isn't off either.
It is too. I was checking the time because I'm old. I'm checking the weather.
Okay. Have you ever heard of these mysterious green mists or green glows?
We talked about that in Dogtown.
Oh yeah, there was something like that.
He tried to get me, folks, but I am prepared.
I totally forgot that. I should have went back and researched those and add those in. Okay,
I remember that.
I spaced on it, man. But I'm going to be talking about. Oh my god, and that even fits the. Okay, we're going to come back to this. Remind me at the end of talking about this to talk again about that because
I blew his mind.
That fits these notes so well.
But you said green mists.
Green mist / green glows. They pop up from time to time, and I found 4 cases of it that I wanted to talk about here today. Mm-hmm. The first one comes from, actually the first and second one are going to come from southeastern Wisconsin. And they're both recorded by the same county sheriff's deputy. He's in the same sort of area as the Burlington Vortex, but he wasn't aware of that. That came later on where someone had pointed it out to him after he had told his stories. The first one comes where he's parked kind of near a swampy area. He's in the patrol car just kind of hanging out, and he notices off to his right, and right now it's pink in the sky. It's right before sunset. And he sees this green glow just kind of coming from the direction of the cattails, kind of manifesting as like a mist or a haze. It kind of just independently moved up towards the car, although did not envelop the car. As it approached, first he started having electronic disruptions within the car. The electronics did not straight turn off, but they went kind of flickery. Then the engine's RPM dropped to almost 0. Then the police computer and the police radio fully shut off. And he's just kind of stuck there for a while, just being like, I don't know what the hell's going on. I can't really drive away, and I don't want to get out and get near whatever the heck this thing is. So it kind of drifts over near him and then just moves off again and fades away. One other thing he notices after this encounter, the sky is no longer pink. It is just straight nightfall. He's not sure exactly what time the encounter began, but the sky was definitely still pink when it started. And after the encounter, it's just straight nighttime.
So it starts like sometime around sunset, and then it's in like well into the night after it's over?
Yeah, when he first saw it approaching, the sky was pink. The sun had just started to go down. It was just basically the sun had just disappeared over the horizon. But by the time the thing fades away, he suddenly realizes, oh crud, it's just straight night. It turns out it's not like real late into it. Basically, he thinks that although it didn't seem like a 30-minute encounter, it must have been at least 30 minutes, maybe more. But so he had this big exposure of boom missing time. He has another, and that encounter happened during the summer of 2011. The same deputy sheriff has another encounter in the summer of 2012. He's down by the waterfront area. And this time he sees it kind of off on the distance, kind of forming down around the banks. And once again, it's around sunset. It just kind of hovers by the banks, rises up, clearly glowing independently, then begins moving off in the direction of this island that's kind of out there in the waterway. And it just fades away. It was kind of a minor encounter, and he doesn't believe he had any sort of missing time during that one.
So did he ever? But in either episode, he never got fully immersed in the mist, right?
No. One, it never got real close to him. He's kind of watching it as a distance. And then in the first one, it was close to him, but not encompassing him. But I do have a story from a different person who is encompassed by it.
What, do you say it was just in Wisconsin, or what city in Wisconsin? Was that in?
It was near Burlington.
Burlington, okay.
Yeah, it was southeast Wisconsin.
Okay.
But thoughts?
First off, I think it's kind of strange that like he ends up having this missing time and all these paranormal experiences surrounding it, and not actually getting immersed in it, which I think is even more horrifying. Can you imagine, honestly, being the horror when you're having like a paranormal experience, and just slowly like you there's this feeling of like you can't get away, like your body stops moving, you can't react to anything, all of your electronic equipment stops working, and you realize your car's not going to be able to get you away, and then all of it, like you feel like this is the end, and it goes boop, then it just slowly it just veers off to the right.
Well, yeah, it's one of those things where what was he going to do? Get out of the car? I would be worried about that. I wouldn't want to do that.
I bet he probably left off the part of that where he crapped his pants. I'm like, because seriously. I mean, it's like slowly being enveloped by some sort of supernatural predator, and it's just slowly getting. There's nothing you can do about it. Like that feeling of helplessness. That's terrifying.
Oh yeah. Okay. The next one comes from Helf, Michigan. Excuse me. It's from 1985, deer season, and it's reported by a hunter.
Did you say Hell, Michigan, or Health?
Helf.
Health. Oh, okay.
Okay. So this is just after sunrise. So once again, right around that twilight time. This hunter's in his deer blind. He has a deer in his sights, but he kind of concludes, well, I only get so many deer a season, and this one's kind of scrawny. I don't want it to be this one. So he's watching the deer as suddenly the whole area that he's in begins to kind of take on this misty green haze as he realizes everything's beginning to glow around him. He looks around trying to figure out what's going on, and he looks down at the deer, and then suddenly he's just slammed with this massive rapid fire of negative emotions. Sadness, despair, shame, literally anything in that negative band of emotions. He's just getting this rapid cycle of them. And he looks over at the deer, and the deer's head's just on the ground. It just stopped moving. And he says he can hardly control it at this point. Then the mist begins to kind of drift over him and the deer. And once it gets over the area where the blind is, suddenly there's a sudden boom change. It's no longer negative emotions. He's hit with this massive wave of euphoria. He can barely keep himself in the blinds. He feels like something's ordering him to get out of the blinds, to get out and just reveal himself. But he felt that would have been dangerous, so his conscious mind overwhelmed it. But he could still barely keep from moving because, well, he's in a euphoric state. His legs are twitching, his hands are twitching. He can barely just do anything but move. It almost sounds like mania.
Mm-hmm.
Then the cloud begins to drift away from them. And he starts to feel the effects starting to kind of wear off on him. But he still has that urge that he wants to get out of the blind and do something, but he doesn't know what. And at that point, the deer just stands up and walks off with the mist. The guy, after that, the mist disappears. The guy takes a few moments, calms himself down, and gets the hell out of there.
Crap.
Yeah, scary situation. A lot of things to unpack there. It seems like this mist can almost cause a bipolar sort of effect. Because you have the depression, then you have the mania. And it seems to be able to instill this in animals. It almost seems predatory to me.
Like a predatory mist that's going to get you?
Did you not get that feel from it?
No, I mean, I 100% I did whenever you were talking about it.
I thought it was interesting that the guy, the hunter, he was able to use kind of his just advanced thought to suppress his emotions to keep himself from revealing himself in the blinds. Because he felt like he needed to get out of the blinds. Mm-hmm. But consciously, he's just like, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. We're staying here.
I wonder, I wonder if both of those reactions, because they're like just not moving, is how much of that is a supernatural thing, and it's not a instinctual urge not to move. Like realizing like people generally when they're in a crisis that they don't move, they stop moving, because early man, like we understand most people's like sight is based on, or predator sight is based on movement. So you want to generally not. That's why people freeze in one of those situations.
Oh, I think instincts plays a big part.
Yeah, people. That's why people in crisis, you ever see them, they don't move. That's because they don't want to. They don't want to be seen. They don't want attention being drawn to them and things like that. Like, do you think that it's a supernatural effect that's going on with them, or do you think that it's akin to that their instincts are kicking in not to move?
I think the supernatural effect was the sudden blast of depression and sadness, and then once it was encompassed, the euphoria. I think the drive to not go out, I think that's intellect and instinct. Mm-hmm. I think that was him trying to overcome his emotions to probably survive a dangerous situation. Because a lot of this stuff has a little bit of a David Paulides feel to it. These are all occurring in the woods near water. which is one of the trends in David Paulides' work.
I am more fascinated with the missing time aspect really than this weird like wave of emotion that hits them, because the same stuff they're talking about with me is also similar accounts that like people that have been trapped in quicksand come up with this wave of depression or emotion, like they like feeling like the end is upon them, and a thing like, and they just slowly come to terms with it.
Well, when it comes to the time stuff, he does say that time seemed to have moved strangely while he was in it. That he felt like time was like dilating. He didn't give a real clear description of what he meant by that, but he did imply that there seemed to have been some aspects of, like, he thinks that he had returned, like he was out there much longer than he originally thought he was. And he definitely said while he was in the mist that there were some odd stuff. He felt like time just wasn't moving right. But I kind of chalk that up to potentially just the odds factor, since he was so unspecific. Right.
Well, it reminds me a lot of the story of the Green Mist. That, I mean, we have it here in Evansville. That's something that people have talked about in Evansville, like down in Dogtown, as people have reported when they go down in there, they get enveloped in this green mist.
I got one more story, and then I want you to tell that one.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. This last story is the one I had the least amount of details on. I can't even tell you the exact year that it happened, but it was before the 85 incident, because it was in a book before that point.
Right.
This one occurs in Aveley, Essex, England. It involves a family of 2 children and the 2 parents driving the car. As they're driving down the road, they notice that there's this blue light behind them that seems to be kind of following them. As they drive, there's this glowing green bank of fog ahead of them, and they end up in it.
Okay.
Once they're within the fog light, the car begins to slow down, the electronics go off, and the engine dies. They remember being in a bit of a panic, then trying to start the car, and then it starts up. And they drive the rest of the way home. When they get home, they realize they lost 2 hours in that time. To them, it was just the car died, and then them attempting to restart the car, and then the car starting and going. But somewhere in that inference, there's 2 hours of missing time. When they get home, there's some strange things that begin happening. They start having problems with the electronics in their TV, with it just constantly going out. It's a TV that they had never had a problem with. They suddenly began to experience poltergeist-like phenomena with things being moved around and things along those lines. And possibly the weirdest detail of it, they all developed this extreme aversion to eating meat. Like the whole family just had simultaneously developed this whole thing where they did not want to eat meat anymore.
And there's like, that's it. We're just going to go straight vegetarian.
No, it was more like when they looked at it, it was just like repulsive to them. It was just something that they just were like, it's like, have you ever like seen food with mold on it? And it's just like, no, not doing that. As I understand, it was along those lines.
Like, there's this weird race of cow people behind these green mists that are just causing us not to want to eat cows.
Psychogenic cow farts, man.
That's what they've developed a new defense mechanism. They get us to stop eating meat. All the animals got together like, look, if we just fart or this green mist, we're gonna get them to stop eating us.
I truthfully, the extra details in the final story, I don't know how to relate them back, but they're interesting.
Well, the weird thing is like, even okay, so let's talk about like the stories like here in Dogtown. Like, people talk about getting involved in these green mists here in Evansville. That happens, and they report a lot of spatial anomalies. Like, they'll be driving through the mist, and like if you drive this route around Dogtown, it's supposed to be like what, mile 2-3 max, like, you know, just kind of estimating in that. But people will be driving for several minutes, like more than what they should, and they're still stuck in this green mist before that they get out of it. And that's the only real aspect of that I've ever really seen. So it's like listening to all these different green mist stories. Like, there's a lot of different effects that seem to happen. And
an interesting thing is, most of the stories occurred near water.
Mm-hmm.
And that area of Dogtown is right
by
on
the river. Yeah. Like, it gets flooded.
And that area is super marshy as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what, because I had totally forgotten about the green mist in Dogtown. Just, I don't know why. It just totally went out of my head. But then when you mentioned it, I'm like, Actually, this fits pretty well. We've got missing time. It's in the right sort of setting, and a lot of those stories come out of summer, which most of these stories occurred during summer.
Mm-hmm.
Want to go hunt for it?
Do I want to go hunt for a green mist where we where it causes
It's
special
summer.
times? Yeah.
We can go down there near dawn or near dusk and go for a drive and see if we see anything.
Yeah, see if it happens. We haven't been down. We haven't been down in a long while. We've been talking about Dogtown for like quite a while. Did I ever tell you about the time that I was down there? Like, do you remember like another time that we were down there and we were under the bridge trespassing? I mean,
Yeah.
We'll admit it.
We were definitely trespassing.
Yeah, and there was that weird like nailed corn husk doll to a. I think it was to a. It was either to. I think it was to a pole that was down.
It was to one of the fence posts.
Yeah, and it was just nailed in. There's this weird husk corn doll.
I remember. I think I was investigating the side away from the river, and you went down the side by the river, and then you're just like, "Hey Vic,
like,
what's this thing?"
Like, I remember pointing me like, "Is that normal?" Yeah. Like, you're like, "No." Like, obviously, that is just not. Like, and the weird thing is, just like, I don't think that it was like a bait trap either. That when it was down there, like, it was because I don't think you would go down to that part of where I was. But like, even then, there really wasn't any corn that was on. I think it was just the husk part, if I remember correctly.
It looked like a corn doll.
Yeah, it's weird. It's some weird Children of the Corn stuff. It was just bizarre.
It was very peculiar. I will definitely hand you that. But seriously, let's get up early one day or go out before sunset one night.
Mm-hmm. The first thing,
we can even take the GoPro and record this trip.
Mm-hmm. Record us get trespassing.
Actually, maybe a little bit, but we might not have to do that much trespassing.
Right.
We can probably stay on the road.
I would say the only real part of that is when you go down there by the bridge. Is that's I mean you're trespassing down there. Yeah. I mean, but no, the stuff with the Strange Green Mist is weird to me. Like, it has a weird Fae vibe to it. Like, like in the Mists of Avalon.
Yeah.
But the scary thing is, I don't know if anybody here is a big fan of gargoyles that listens to it. I know most of our listeners tend to be like guys in their 30s, so I'm pretty sure most of you remember the show Gargoyles.
I remember Gargoyles. That show was awesome.
Yeah, and I remember like the one night guys like, the mists don't send you where you want to go; they send you where you need to be. And
is he a pirate?
No, he's from Scotland.
You sound like a pirate when you say it.
I was imitating his accent, maybe I guess badly, but that's scary to me, of like the idea of like just some sort of mist that envelops you or is going to take you somewhere that you don't want to go. So that's kind of the terrifying thing that I have. But that was the takeaway that I got from it.
I think the most interesting aspect of the stuff, or the thing I at least took the most away from it, is the deer getting led away.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it seemed like it was screwing with the minds to try to bring someone down and then show it's the force that can lift them up, and then dragging them to God knows where it's going.
In my heart of hearts, I don't think it has anything to do with the people that saw it. I really don't. I don't think it has. I think all these stories are all byproducts of something else. I think this is an after effect of some other sort of paranormal phenomenon.
Tell me more.
Because
like, I did kind of get maybe a screen memory vibe from some of the stories.
Maybe a screen memory, if that might be what it is. But like, if you listen, like in all of these stories, like nothing happens to the person. Like they're just there. Like they have missing time, or it's weird, but like nothing else seems to be going on. They're just there. Like when I'm wondering if there's some sort of other paranormal phenomenon that's going on, and this is just some sort of like paranormal aftershock.
Like the cabal of witch cows out there farting hallucinogenic mist.
I mean, it's like, something else that happens. I mean, okay. So say like it's like somebody has like they get abducted by a UFO, they get taken up, and then someone 2 miles away saw a strange light like going off into space. Like that they're seeing an after thing of another paranormal experience that happened, like where somebody else got abducted and they went somewhere else. Or something that's going on.
Something I will say is many of these areas where the green mist has been spotted are areas that are associated with other paranormal or supernatural activity.
Yeah, you were talking about like the Burlington Vortex.
Yeah.
You were talking about that for the first one.
Yeah, and many of these are also like places where dogmen have been sighted,
Mm-hmm.
or other strange sort of things. So it could be connected to something else, because there's other things that generally go on in these areas. And unfortunately, I only really had 4 reports and then a 5th one that you remembered that I can't believe I didn't remember. A little embarrassed by that. So I didn't have a massive kind of sample of stories.
Well, this isn't the only time that people have reported like strange mist. Like I know that we're going with with green mist stories, but like there's other like strange mist stories that are out there where people have also reported getting involved in these missing and having missing in time stories. It's not just,
especially in folklore.
Yeah, it's not just green mist. It's just mist in general where this is happening to people.
Yeah, well, there's even like other glowing mists. Like there's these accounts of these bluish electronic glowing mists.
I'm gonna be terrified now driving to work every day and I could just get enveloped in mist. I honest to God was surprised that they didn't like have some story of a person in the mist getting, like just hitting a dog, man. just like just driving along. Oh crap.
From what I can tell, mist is okay, but if you see glowing mist, you might want to just steer clear. Just go home. Just go home.
To be fair, that didn't really help the guys in the first two stories.
Okay, well, at that point, don't get near it. If you even see it like far off, just go ahead and go.
Actually, I think if you see it, it's too late.
If you're on your way to work, it's a day off. If you're coming back from the office, apparently you're working a double shift. Just wherever you're coming from, just turn around, go back there.
Right.
Or take good notes and tell us what happens.
I think you're being so nice. I think from the stories you've just told me, I think if you've seen the green mist, you're already kind of screwed. Might as well just don't move. Like you can't see if you don't move. Like it's like a T-Rex.
As long as your car can still drive, you just take off. Mm-hmm. Just don't drive into it. Drive away from it.
So what do you think causes it? Do you think that it's some sort of faith thing? Do you think that it's just some other just sort of weird phenomenon? Do you think it's I think it's a byproduct. I think it's a byproduct of some other sort of paranormal phenomenon, and that's what people are experiencing.
I don't have a great argument for anything specific except for possibly an aspect of screen memory, but I kind of feel like it's its own thing. I'm kind of like I don't have a good validation for it, but I just oddly have a feeling that it's its own thing. Like it's a hunter, like it's engaging in a form of hunting behavior.
Well, no, okay. So I will make the argument that I think that the green mist, what it may be, is some sort of like travel, like a byproduct of like dogmen traveling somewhere. These are all reports of stories of places where dogmen are sighted, right?
At least the first 3.
Yeah, UK, Dogtown, Wisconsin.
So 4 of the 5.
What was one where it's not seen?
SS England. There might be encounters in SS England.
There's bar guy stories in there.
Okay, if we add in bar guys,
we're following along. We're following along on the same, within the same camp here.
Mysterious canine cryptids.
Well, there's been a big. I mean, if you look at say like a lot of these cryptids as supernatural entities, Bigfoot being this spiritual creature, and that's the reason about why we don't see them is because he can just teleport and move around, That's how he gets around. Maybe what this green mist is the byproduct of dogmen and how they move around. That's why we've never found them.
I mean, there are some interesting stories involving dogmen, like seemingly being able to appear and disappear, like even leaving tracks in snow where it starts somewhere in the snow and ends somewhere in the snow, but there's no beginning or end mark. They just stop. Mm-hmm. So maybe this is the mist that comes out of the Dogman portal. I don't know what to say. It's an odd conversation.
Well, I mean, keep in mind, with spatial, the reason why cars and electronics work is because of how we think of laws of physics and how physics work.
Yeah.
Like if you're having something that's bending space and time, it's going to make electronics not work because they all function based on how we understand physics.
And this thought could also potentially explain the Oz factor, where things just seem to get peculiar around certain paranormal incidents. Mm-hmm. Where, everything gets quiet, time seems to get distorted. You get this very peculiar feeling that things are just not right.
Right. Mm-hmm. I think that could be the reason about what's called. I know we're way out there and trying to talk about trying to explain what this green mist. Again, we're talking about green mist that shuts off cars. So I don't have a logical explanation for what. Like the first thing that I started doing was I started we're talking southeast Wisconsin, and so I started thinking about nuclear reactors and power plants that are particular in the area, but there's not one within 2 miles of that particular part of Wisconsin. So I shot my theory there.
There is a natural phenomena called the green flash or the green flashes.
Mm-hmm.
But those are very short incidences and don't really look like a fog or a mist or anything like that. These are like, if you're looking at the sun at the right angle at the right time, you can see these green lines come off the sun. They don't stick around, they don't move around, they don't look like clouds.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the interesting things is the mist is self-illuminating, which makes me think either it's something along the lines of what you're saying, something that could potentially be radioactive, basically it's carrying a material in the cloud that's causing illumination, or it's some form of bioluminescence.
Or there's some sort of light in the mist, and the water is refracting, reflecting, I don't know which one, refracting, reflecting, whichever one, and that's what's causing it to glow. Because if you have a glow inside a mist, it'll cause the mist to look like that color. So.
But in a lot of these cases, they specifically say there's no other light like it nearby, that this seems to be something where it's radiating out of it. And even in some of it's not so much, I know I'm using the word mist, it's really more of a haze, where just suddenly everything around you begins to glow this color, and it kind of floods out the other colors, kind of creating a mist-like look. So I'm not totally sure that this is... I don't think we're talking about specifically so much a cloud, but some sort of like dispersed maybe particulate or just some sort of glow that doesn't have a source. And it's very hard to describe something along these lines. I just use mist because it's the most easy way to convey, but probably haze would be an easier or more accurate.
Why do you think that there's always this association with glowing with more terrible paranormal phenomena?
Oh yeah, like because red-eyed shadow people.
You throw it literally onto any sort of story where it tends to get more horrific. There is a glow that is going on.
Run into Bigfoot, you might be okay. Run into a Bigfoot with red glowing eyes, no, you're done.
Do you think that itself is just a reflection of just our instincts, like from early man, just like with seeing like reflective eyes, like from predators, and that's just what we associate just with something that's even more dangerous?
I'd say it's possible, yeah.
Yeah, because it's across every genre. The more horrific the story gets, the more that you're probably going to see something with a glowing factor.
But I wouldn't say
pop up.
These stories are specifically horrific. They're fascinating.
I would say the guy that felt like he was frozen in fear.
Remember, it wasn't fear. It was like shame, depression, things like that.
Well, I would say those two guys probably more extreme emotional situations. But like, there's always this weird glowing phenomenon that occurs in every single one of those, which I think is interesting.
I don't know. I mean, there might be some connection to it. There might be some sort of meta particle linking all these things that we just haven't spotted, but...
No, I think that's a trait of human nature. I think that's what it... And then I think that's why we bring it up in the story. I think that's why that comes up a lot more often, and we make sure that we talk about that part.
Okay,
yeah. That's just me reflecting on, like, when we're talking about, like, human memory of what we're going to reflect on and what stuck out to us. I think that is why that comes up more often.
Beyond that, also, glowing eyes just... That's a detail you're not going to skip. Like...
Well, that's what I'm saying, because, again... The very first things that got us were things that probably had reflective eyes that, like for predators.
I mean, I think you're probably right, but also it's just a memorable detail. It's like claws. If it had these big old claws, you're going to just be like, and it had giant claws.
And it was 10 feet tall. And it just gets bigger.
Like it's just something that like in the storytelling you would naturally include.
Yeah. So any other final thoughts on this just glowing mist phenomenon?
It's very peculiar. I really wonder if we started digging around things like local legends and stuff, if we wouldn't find a lot more examples of this.
I think it is a product of some kind of time and space anomaly. Like something is moving through there, and that's what this green mist is a byproduct of. I think that's what it is. I think that's something that's going on with that. I think if you connect it to lore and things, generally there's something that is moving somewhere else that is difficult to get to, or it gets to it in a certain way. And I think that's why, and I think that's what it is. I think it's a byproduct. I don't know if it's causing itself. I don't know if that's just a reaction, just like some sort of natural weather phenomenon. That's why it causes it that way, maybe naturally. That I can't explain.
I know this is weird to say when we're talking about a haze, but I really do get kind of a predatory vibe off this thing.
I think that it's but the thing is like in the first one, it didn't even go after the guy. Like
one possibility is it literally was not capable of getting within the car. It might have been trying to hinder the car to get the guy to get out. Mm-hmm. On the other one, the guy was kind of in a lure, but was able to escape from it.
Mm-hmm. But I think, honestly, even if it wasn't, I still think that you would have all of those same feelings. I think everything that happened in that story would still happen, even if it was just some weird magic entity that was just like, screw it, I'm just going to go to Wisconsin just for vacation. I'm traveling through this area, and that happened.
The emotion would be natural?
Yeah. Everything.
I want to argue this.
Okay.
You're in this weird situation where you're seeing this green mist. In that flurry of emotions, why would you get depression and shame?
Feeling like you're about to die. I feel.
No, I would get terror, fear, urgency, unrest, but I don't think shame would be something that would specifically come to me.
Well, it's a guy. Maybe he felt ashamed in his reaction to it. To be fair, I don't think most people are that in tune with their emotions if they know why they particularly felt that way. I don't think most people are generally that. I don't think as many people are as educated. Now, I'm not saying everybody, but I think that that happens to a lot of guys in situations when they get to a lot of men is when they get put in situations and they don't react the way that they felt that they should. That they feel it's a shame.
This isn't like post guilt or something. But let me move on to my next part of my argument. Why, when it settles on you and engulfs you, that's when you get euphoria? Because it's not like you're in the clear yet.
I don't know.
I just don't buy that this is just all naturally occurring emotion. But that's what we do. Me and you come up with different ideas and we argue them.
I don't know. He also could truthfully. I'll be willing to give the guy the benefit of the doubt, but I would also believe that it's quite possible that he might not be fully in touch with understanding about why he's feeling the way he's feeling at the time. But it could be
possible.
But I'll be willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. I will. But no. But I don't think the mist is in and of itself a thing by itself. I think it is a byproduct of something else, and these experiences are just things that are happening with people.
And I think perhaps it is, but due to the lack of information, I can't.
No, I'm still saying they're having a paranormal experience, but I think it's connected to something else.
But when it comes down to it, I'm awaiting more information. I just don't feel like I have a clear enough picture to really form a real solid theory.
I don't know if we're gonna get more info. I don't know if we're gonna get like that much more information.
If we go to Dogtown in the summer, which it is around sunset, maybe we will.
Anybody listening, have you had an experience with this green mist? Have you had an experience with strange mist in and of itself? Do you guys have more thoughts on what it could be or other parts of lore that we didn't bring up in today's episode? Leave that stuff in the comments below, so that we can talk about it at the beginning of the next episode. If you guys like the episode, don't forget to like, share.
Sorry, I'm over here burping in my mic.
If you like the episode, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Leave us a review. If you're listening to this somewhere where you can leave a review, it absolutely helps us. If you're listening on YouTube, hit the notification bell. Hit the notification bell. That way you stay up to date whenever we put out a new episode. But until next time, guys, keep believing.
Because we'll keep listening.
All right, guys, we're going to slide into the Pillow Talk segment of the podcast. If you want to check out the rest of this awesome podcast, all you have to do is go over to our Patreon and sign up for as little as $1 a month. You get all the rest of our podcast, as well as access to bonus content, where we talk about where we have one candle TV, and you get all these extra videos that we put up only on our Patreon.
Which is where we keep our secrets.
Yes. Our super secrets.
Our secrets.
And also, if you sign up to be $2 more a month, you actually get access to our poll where you get to vote on the theme of each month. And currently right now in the poll that's leading for next month is strange Earth theories.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. That's what's currently winning. Although it's always a tight race with all of them. So if you guys want to get your voices heard, make sure you go over to our Patreon and sign up today. All right, guys. I thought for our Patreon, for our Pillow Talk segment, we would just continue talking about these green mists, talk about a little bit of stuff like that, and maybe expand upon some other theories.